Good morning, everyone. And today we are presenting case 1039 titled I Did Rather Be Fishing. It is a case about whistleblowing toxic waste and where an engineer's responsibility actually lies when loyalty to an employer collides with responsibility to the public. First, the discovery. A field technician is evaluating a contaminated site and finds two drums. He takes samples and based on his experience, he strongly believes the contents are toxic and needs special regulated disposal. Second, the cover-up. His supervisor tells him to just log the samples, exist and drop the matter. He compiles. The drums are never properly resetted. Third, this is where it gets serious. The danger is realized. A few days later, the technician spots a remediation crew working that same site without proper safety gear. They have been told the drums are clean. There simply wasn't enough time for any real retest to have happened. So now real workers are handling possibly toxic materials based on falsified safety data. That is our present situation. Abhinav Matthew will walk us through those who are affected by this.
Thank you, Jis. Now, before deciding what's right, you need to understand who all are actually involved. So there are six key stakeholders involved in this situation. The first one being the field technician. He's our primary stakeholder, and he's caught between his conscience and his job, facing moral obligations on one side and a risk of retaliation on the other. Then we have the supervisor and the firm. They are directly implicated. So if the regulators find the discover the cover up, then they have to face the legal consequences and reputational damage. Then we have the remediation crew, which is, in my opinion, the most vulnerable group because they are handling potentially toxic waste materials without a proper protection. And the worst part is they don't even know the risk behind this or the risk behind this they are exposed to. Then we have the site owner or the client who is likely behind the false reporting. Their intention is primarily financial because the hazardous waste disposal methods are very expensive and strictly regulated. Then we have the EPA and OSHA, which are serving as oversight bodies. Their role is to prevent situations like this, but they can only do something if they are provided with accurate information, which is not provided here. Then lastly we have public and the environment, who are acting as downstream stakeholders. Groundwater contamination and long-term health risks are affecting the entire communities. At the end, we can notice a pattern that the most affected ones are the ones with the least power and less information. This imbalance is critical to our analysis. Over to Ibinu.
Thanks. To analyze this properly, we are applying three classical ethical frameworks, and interestingly, all three arrive at the same answer. First, utilitarianism, greatest good for the greatest number. Silence risks worker poisoning, groundwater contamination, and long term public harm. The only benefit of silence is avoiding one uncomfortable conversation. So, reporting clearly produces more good. This is not a close call. Second, deontology, Hans framework. Some duties are binding regardless of consequences, and honesty is one of them. We also can't universalize a world where engineers routinely hide falsified safety data. The whole safety system depends on engineers being trustworthy, so the duty to speak holds. Third, virtue ethics, which asks, what would a person of good character do? Honesty, courage, and professional integrity all point the same direction. And staying silent is a small surrender of character that tends to compound over time. Three very different frameworks: utilitarian calculation, Kantian duty, and Aristotelian character. And all three say report. When that kind of agreement happens, it's a strong signal. Now, Ramlila will take us through what the professional codes say.
Gives us more moral reasoning, but as engineers, we also have professional codes that apply directly. I will cover two, ACM and IEEE. The ACM Code of Ethics has four relevant sections. 1.1 Contribute to society and human well-being. 1.2 Avoid harm, especially forcible physical harm. 2.1 Be honest in professional work. and respect existing laws. There is no reading of ACM code that permits silence when worker safety is at stake. The IEEE code is even more direct. Article 1 holds paramount of safety, health, and welfare of the public. Article 3 be honest in claims and estimates. Article 4 reject bribery. Article 7 acknowledge and correct errors. IEEE explicitly requires disclosure of anything that endangers safety or the environment. So what are the technician options? There are three. Option one, do nothing on paper, no immediate conflict. Job is safe, shorter, but people get hurt. The technician becomes legally complicit, and this may fail even more. Every professional code will just review, not defensible. Option two, escalate internally. Go to senior management or ethics official. This gives the firm a chance to self-correct and preserves the employment relationship. The downside, it only works if senior management is independent of the supervisor and retaliation is still a risk. We consider the recommended first step. Option 3. Report to the regulators. Correct the EPA or OSHA directly. Protects the crew and public immediately. And the whistleblower laws applies in the most judicial. The downside is real career impact in the short term, even with more legal protection. Strong move if internal escalation fails.
Thank you. Putting it all together, our recommendation is a two-step approach. Step 1, escalate internally first. We go to senior management, an ethics officer, or a compliance, but only if they're genuinely independent of the supervisor who ordered the cover-up. This gives the firm a chance to self-report before regulators arrive. A well-functioning firm will often take this opportunity before anything else. Step 2. If internal escalation fails, it's unavailable, or management appears complicit, we report directly to EPA, OSHA, or the relevant regulators. Whistleblower protection laws exist for this reason only. This two-step approach holds up under every lens we apply. Utilitarianism. It prevents the greatest harms. Deontology. It honors the duty to be honest about engineering findings. Virtue ethics. It's what a person of integrity would do, and both ACM and IEEE explicitly require this kind of safety disclosure. One practical note: we have to document everything: what was seen, who was spoken to, what was said, and when. This record is what carries out in the day in any of the formal investigations. To close, Case 1039 is a moment where loyalty to an employer runs straight into responsibility to the public, and the two simply don't line up. Every ethical framework and both major professional codes arrive at the same conclusion: the technician has to act. Silence is understandable given the pressure of holding a job, but it's not an ethical choice when people's health and environment are on the line. An engineer's first loyalty is not to a company or a client, it is to the public that has to trust their work. Thank you.